Hi everyone, I am back. So, as you saw in my message earlier, and first of all, excuse me for my voice, I am battling a cold and just on the tail end of it, and so my voice will be a little different. I want to talk about grief. So, on December 8th of this year, just over a little over 3 weeks ago, my mother, who was 86 years old, passed away in hospice care, and she did have dementia, so the complications of that, and she passed away. So today I'm going to talk about my process of grieving. My mom was a Jehovah's Witness for 30 plus years. She disassociated herself around 1993, 1994, shortly after my father passed away. She was never disfellowshipped. She just stopped going, and so she became what is known as an active member of that religion. Dealing with grief is a multi-factored process. It definitely comes in waves. And what I'm learning about myself is really allowing my emotions to arise. Not suppressing them, not, trying really hard not to allow distractions to prevent me from feeling the emotions that come with grief. Loss is really interesting. So my mother and I, even though we had, some issues in our life in regards to her choices, and a lot of that was influenced by the Jehovah's Witness religion, we did come to a point eventually to where we said all that we needed to say, and so there was nothing unsaid. I'm still very aware of the impact of being raised as a Jehovah's Witness. It was my mom who initially accepted a study from Jehovah's Witnesses who came to her door in the early 60s. So she was the one who brought the religion to the family. She was raised Pentecostal and Catholic. So came up in a more traditional Christian type household. And then she chose to join the Jehovah's Witness religion, and then my father followed suit. And of course, the rest of us, she had two children at the time who, came into religion because of my parents, and then the rest of us were born into the religion. So yeah, so just a different type of relationship with that. The things that I encountered growing up. I shared a few of my memories as growing up as a Jehovah's Witness child, and how that's impacted my adult life, and just coming to terms with that, and just looking at it from a different perspective, and also getting support to help me have a improved functioning adult life. But today, just talking about the loss of my mother and figuring out who I am now in absence of her. And one way or another, I was my mom's caregiver for 32 years. Early days, when my dad died, my mom didn't know how to drive. She was a stay-at-home mother. She worked a few jobs, cleaning office buildings in the evening, but my mom did not have a career or a job that took her outside of the home. So as far as her ability to kind of navigate, society, that was limited. I mean, she knew how to do things, but she needed some support. And so when my father died, she leaned on me heavily. At the time, I was 19 years old. My other siblings, who are older, of course, are older than me. My next sibling is 8 years older than me. They had already moved out of their home. They were living their lives. Some had children, and others, were just living their working adult life. So myself being the youngest, I was at home, and I was the one that my mother leaned on heavily to help her navigate the world without my father in it. My mom, she was 55 when my dad passed away. When I think about it, because I'm 51, so she was only 4 years older than I am now. So she was fairly still a young, adult individual. In my perspective, at one time I thought, oh my God, 50 is so old. But now that I'm here in my 50s, 50 really isn't that old. I'm actually enjoying this time of my life, experiencing this part of the life spectrum. But yeah, so I was 19 years old. My father passed away, and my mom leaned on me to help her get some things done. And I was in school. I was in college. I think it was my first year in college. Just just starting my first year in college. And I would take her to school with me because she didn't want to be alone. So she went to work on getting her high school diploma. And so she entered a GED program at this community college I was attending. And I would take her every day with me. And when I got my first job, after I graduated, the community college level, my mom got a volunteer job at the hospital I was working. And so she's always been a part of my whole adult life, to the point to where she was living on her own again. In later years, I was married. We were still giving her support and make sure that she had, her financing was in check, just take care of all of her needs. And I did that for over 3 decades. My mom got older, and when she was diagnosed with dementia, I took a more active role in her caregiving, to where I was making a lot of her meals. I was, organizing her home to reduce her fall risk. My professional background was in physical therapy, so I had a lot of input on how to create a space for her that was safe and functional, that would keep her, reducing risk of injury. Making sure that she was living in a secure community, keep her general safety as well. So again, she was very involved in my life. And I'll go later into that on some of the pros and cons of that throughout the years. But long story short, she was always a part of my life. And so as I'm dealing with the loss of her, just figuring out what to do with that time in my life that I allowed for her to be a fixed part of. Learning to forgive myself for, any perceived missed opportunities that I let go of in order to take care of my mom. Letting go of anger towards my siblings of thinking that they didn't do enough to help. All of the caregiver burnout conversations. If you have any experience with that, then I'm sure you know exactly what I'm speaking about. When you are the primary family member that's taking care of an elderly parent, and feeling that others could do more than they have been doing. So as I go through the grieving process and allowing myself to feel all the feelings that I have, and just giving myself time. Some other physical things that I'm doing is making sure that I'm hydrated, making sure I'm getting enough rest. I did take off time from work as I'm extended bereavement leave to give myself time to just process all the emotions. And also with the business of dying, there are other things that you have to do when someone passes as well. You arrange over the funeral, dealing with, any kind of medical bills, or just finishing that person's estate as you're closing out their life in this world. Making sure that I'm getting as enough sleep as I can, really reducing my stress. Anything that I don't need to deal with, I'm not. And my husband has been wonderful in shouldering any kind of household responsibility or any other kind of family or any kind of things are going on. He's getting in front of that, so I don't have to worry about dealing with that right now. So when you're grieving, it varies from person to person. It definitely is based on the relationship you have with the one who passed away. That's going to dictate your process of grief. So I'm 3 weeks out from my mom passing away. I'm definitely better than I was the first week. I go back to work next week, and I think that will help too of me getting back into, the normal work routine that I was used to prior, but also just allowing myself time. I think time is something that I'm really appreciative of, and just allowing myself to feel the feelings that comes with when someone transitions out of your life. Yeah, so I've been dealing with a lot of emotions, and thankfully I have been going to therapy. I've been doing that way before mine passed, but definitely I'm glad I had that already established, just help me to keep going and to keep with my healing and just recovering, just processing the emotion of grief. Yeah, so just thinking about, also, I haven't been doing daily journaling, but when I have a thought, being able to jot that down and meditate on it, meditation has been helpful as well. My faith has been keeping me uplifted too. My belief in God and Jesus Christ, and and the teachings of my Christian belief system has been quite helpful as well. Surrounding yourself with family members who can support you and lift you up is also vital. Having friends that you can just call. We just need someone to talk to outside of your family is also supportive as well. I'm getting a lot of sympathy cards and a lot of texts from people, so letting them know they're thinking about me and my family, and if I just want to talk, they're always there. And just knowing that someone is there and available. I'm also, starting next month, I'm going to be attending a grief support group that I found locally in the area that I live. So I'm looking forward to attending that. Again, just helping me with the process of grief. So I am looking forward to joining that grief support group next week. I also belong to a Facebook group that talks about daughters who are working and also taking care of their elderly aging parents. Well, that Facebook group has another group that's for members who have lost that parent that they were taking care of and looking at their life after caregiving. So I'm really very grateful to be part of that new Facebook group as I've entered a new chapter after my mom passed away. So grief is really tricky. And some days I'm doing great and I'm happy and I'm smiling, and there are moments in that day where I'll feel the pain, like the loss is palatable. And just being okay with that, being okay and being open to it and allowing it to flow. So when my mom passed away, I am her power of attorney for financial and healthcare, all the things I was taking care of on her behalf. I did a pre-funeral arrangement a couple of years ago because I knew when it did happen, I didn't want to be, in that emotional state, picking out things. I want to have that done prior. And I'm so glad that I did that because it just makes things so much easier when you're having to deal with the service because you've done the bulk of the work already. So I already did her pre-funeral arrangement a couple years ago, and so when it was time to make some of those just kind of tying up loose ends a part of the service, it was very manageable. Pick out the flowers and that kind of stuff. So to honor my mom, because her background, her part of her life history is being a part of the Jehovah's Witness organization. To honor her, I wanted to make sure that was part of her service, and that was of honor and her honor. So I had the service at the funeral home, not at the Kingdom Hall. My mom wasn't an active member anymore. She had not been part of her life for 30 plus years, but I still wanted, since that was part of her life history, I still wanted to be for that to be part of the service. And so I talked to my brothers who are both active Jehovah's Witness members, and they found someone in the local Kingdom Hall to come and provide my mom's, funeral talk or the funeral eulogy. So that week I was very busy. I had to clean up my mom's room. She was, staying in a local memory care facility, which they did a phenomenal job with care for my mom for the past 3 years. We're very pleased with the care that she received there. So we had to clean out her room. I had to pick out clothes for her to wear. My mom was cremated, but we still did an in-person service for her, again, to celebrate her life. So my husband, he was just an amazing support for me. And, he has been this whole journey with my mom for the past 20 years of, helping me with her, and as she's changed throughout the years, and definitely in the past few years, just a significant part of my support system. So that week of preparing for the service, doing those kind of few tying up loose ends, picking out the memorial card I wanted to use for her. I already knew what I wanted written in the card. Her favorite poem was Footprints, so I had that in there. My mom always loved flowers, so I got a memorial card that had a nice picture of flowers on it. I have taken so many great pictures of my mom. So I had a beautiful picture that I used with her holding some flowers that I bought for her on Mother's Day a couple of years back, when she's having a really great day. So again, gosh, what else? You have to, calling Medicare and all these different phone calls you have to make when someone passes away. But also, one of the things I did for my mom the day before service is I did her hair one last time. I always did my mom's hair every 2 weeks. When she was alive, I would go in and, shampoo it, curl it, and braid it. And I would do my mom's hair for many, many years. Even when she lived in her apartment, I would go and take care of her. My mom lost the ability to do her hair. Oh, gosh. I think it was around 2018. So about 6 years ago, she started needing more regular assistance to take care of her hair care. So, that's been a part of my life as well, as making sure that her hair was well kept. So I did that for my mom the very last time, 3 weeks ago, the Friday before her service on that Saturday morning. And I brought the same stuff that I always use, her curling iron. When you pass the funeral, they will wash the body, prepare it. And so they had washed her and washed her hair. And I was really impressed because, the staff, I believe, they were all Caucasian. But they did a beautiful job on her hair. Her hair was conditioned, it was soft, and all I had to do was blow dry it straight. And then I curled it. Very nice hairstyle for her. They had her in the clothes that I picked out for her, including her very favorite pair of socks that she always wore, even though they were a little bit worn. But those were her favorite pair of socks. And I want to make sure she had those, and they had everything in perfect order. So I did her hair, got that taken care of. I did a slide presentation for my mom that celebrated her life. I have all of the family photos, and so I found some really great photos of my mom when she was in her late teens, early 20s. When she was in her 30s, she looked completely different, but I could still see that was my mom. So it was really cool to look through all those older photos and to be able to create this timeline of her life. So I did that, and I also did another photo slideshow that was for the viewing, because we did a viewing as well as a service afterwards. So I was really busy that week. And, my brothers, they helped as much as they could. We looked down. I wish they were able to help a little bit more. Things happen in families. So I did what I needed to do, and they helped as much as they could. But definitely the bulk of the preparation was placed on my shoulders and my husband's. But we were able to get it all done. So just a lot of work. It's a lot of work getting ready for someone's service. At least for us, I'm sure you have different services or different preferences of people doing what they want done. My mom told me she wanted to get cremated, so I definitely honored that. But we did a little service for us as well, for this, for the people who are left behind, the survivors. but also honoring her wishes to be cremated. So yes, very busy week. The service went really well. There was one little blurb in the service. So I also created the agenda for my mom's service, which started off with a song and a prayer. My brother came up and he gave the the obituary, read the obituary that we had written. Well, I had mostly written, and he read it. And then we showed the video presentation of my mom's life and her family, and I embedded a song "Misty" by Johnny Mathis, which is one of her favorite songs. So I was really pleased at how that turned out. And then I was on the agenda to give a few minutes to talk about the remembrance of our mother. Now, before the service, one of my brothers asked me to come to the back of the chapel to speak to the Jehovah's Witness elder who they had chosen to talk at my mom's service. And he had a question about the agenda. And his concern was that the remembrance part of that I wanted to do didn't fall in alignment with the Jehovah's Witness outline that they have for funeral services. And he was concerned that there wasn't an allowance for it. Well, of course, I was in the midst of my grief, and that made me really upset. And I just informed him that I was not okay with what he was saying to me about me not being allowed to speak at my mom's funeral. And as letting him know that I'm going to speak at my mom's funeral. And I started crying because my grief I'd been holding on for all week, doing all the things, we've been busy. And when he said that, that really took me back to when I was 12 years old and the elders telling me that I couldn't get baptized because I didn't pass some whatever test that they had or didn't feel my answers were good enough. So I knew what that was attached to. And my older brother did speak up and say, hey, that actually is allowed. And he's an active Jehovah's Witness. So the service went on. My husband came back because he heard me crying in the back of the chapel and asked me what was wrong. And I just couldn't even get the words out because I was just so upset that, that same type of legalistic religiosity, incompassionate theme was still present in the Jehovah's Witness culture. Not that I was surprised, but it was still hurtful to experience that, especially in the midst of such an emotional time. But we continued with the service. I got up and I spoke about my mother. I think I spoke for about 5 minutes. And after the service was done, I had so many Jehovah's Witness women come up to me, and they were so pleased of what I spoke about. A lot of them were currently taking care of their elderly parents, aging parents, and they were telling me that what I said was very encouraging to them because I spoke about the challenges of taking care of someone that's not easy to take care of. It's very easy to love someone who was kind, but when someone has challenging behaviors, that's so very difficult to do. But I pushed through it, and I did it anyway. So that was good to have that kind of feedback. Anytime I can bring encouragement to anyone, no matter what their religious background is definitely warms my heart. So as I continue with my grieving process, what I'm going to be focusing on is giving myself time, being patient with myself, loving myself, giving myself what I need to recover and to just go through the process of grief. Well, that's all for me today. Please share with me in the comments, what are some things that you found were helpful when you lost someone in your life as you went through the grieving process. And I will definitely read those comments. I may be able to find, I'm looking forward to finding something that will help me as I'm currently walking this grieving path, walking on this grieving path. Well, until next time, everyone have a great day, and I'll see you at the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.